Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Sonal Shah, and I am the founder of the Urban Catalyst and host of this podcast, Narratives That Move. At TUC, our We Inspire program aims to shift mindsets and practices towards climate resilient and gender inclusive futures. Narratives That Move is a reflective podcast where I sit with change makers driving transformation on the ground to understand their strategies, their tactics, and everyday innovations to make our cities safe, inclusive, and climate resilient. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Zalak Modi, the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion at Tata Motors Passenger Vehicles Limited. Welcome, Zalak, to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Sonal. I'm glad to be on it.
So today we are here to talk about the initiative at for the passenger vehicles or the PV unit in Chakan, in Pimpri Chinchwad, where you have an all-women workforce in what we understand is the trim chassis facility in assembly line in where the car comes to life. You have an all-women workforce of 1,700. So help us understand, Zalak. How did this come about and what was the motivation behind it?
Sure. So, like you rightly said, we do have a facility in our Pune plant where we have close to 1,700 women who actually build and assemble our Harriers and Safaris that you see on the road today. This is something that we started in 2021. We called it our Women in Blue initiative. The idea was really simple: create real access to manufacturing careers for young women, especially from the underserved communities, right? That's what we were looking at. And we were like, how do we do this while making a larger impact? Not something small where you just have small facets of women coming together. No, if you really want to take it out there and make heads turn and have people talking about it, we actually built a shop floor line such that women could assemble our premium SUVs. And when I say women, it's girls because it's aged 19 to 24 that we're looking at.
Fascinating. And just as a follow up, Zalak, are they in all ships? Can you just help us understand a little bit about that as well?
So the shifts are actually, it depends. We do have two shifts, and depending on the need, we have a third shift that comes in as well. That is why we say average 1,700. It's typically 1,500 to 2,000, right? Depending on seasonality of the product as well. So that's how it works. And these,
Absolutely.
to reiterate, really, end to end women, just end to end women.
This is fascinating. And so, just coming, let's start with the first step of this
Sure.
process. And how did you attract and attract these women? Please help us understand that.
Sure. So the idea was, to make these vehicles, we needed to actually find women who can do this and who can be trained or who are already trained, right? So we focused on our in-house programs like Kaushalya and Lakshya, which helped attract young women from diverse backgrounds. It's Kaushalya is an earn while you learn program. It's a 3-year program that we have, right? So you are here, you are earning a stipend, but you are also learning on the job. At this point in 2021, we were looking at building a talent pipeline for this particular line.
Got it. And so, how did you convince their household members? Or did you have to?
So we did, right? Because a lot of these women have never been out alone, never, first time jobs. They're still apprenticeship programs kind of a thing, right? So the idea was that we engage directly with the families, with the parents, walk them through our safety measures, what the workplace infrastructure is like, what the workplace looks like. Because when it's, like the felt experience that we talk about. So when they came, and when we spoke to them and we built that trust and comfort, that is when we were able to get their buy-in as well, right? Because they also saw value in the fact that our girls are going out, they're bringing something back home, and they're getting to sort of, fulfill their aspirations as well. We also promise things like, and we do it, right, which is secure transportation and CCTV footage that is monitored, day in and day out, 24 hours a day, to ensure that, our facility is safe, should there be any requirement to pull out the footage. And our shop floors are well lit, I mean, that the Tata Group safety standards that we abide by and live by. So that's what we followed.
Yeah. Just maybe adding to this, Zalak, you said that did you arrange any site visits, so to speak, for the household members so that they could see the facility themselves? Did you feel the need for that? Because I could see that the Tata Group's reputation would have itself have played a big role over here as well.
So we didn't per se, invite families to come and see, because it's a manufacturing unit, right? There is a lot of we need to make sure that does not go out there, right? I mean, even today when I go to the shop floor, we need to make sure that, our cameras are concealed in certain areas and things like that. But it's about walking them through, taking them through it, showing them pictures where required. Obviously, when you come in for your interview or for the program, you're getting to understand the facility. And so they were invited to the plant on a need basis, but not like an organized road show, so to say.
Sure. So, you said you did provide a transportation service to the facility. Can you tell us a little bit more? Because I was initially going to ask you whether you had limited yourself to a geographic area. So, I think on one hand, you attracted the women by showing them where they would be. Second was the access to the facility. So, yes.
Yeah. So we're actually not restricted to a single geography, right? Because talent does come from different regions. However, the idea is that they end up typically staying closer to the plant or within a certain radius, because that enables them also to have a work-life balance. Largely, and it just works from a sustainability point of view as well, right? Where you're hiring from, areas around the plant. So it's like serving back to the community as well. But what we do is we provide transportation, which is a subtle service with the shift timings. Typically, that operates between 7:15 a.m. and 5:15 p.m. So it's a drop and pick to the closest point to your home or wherever you are, boarding and lodging. So we make sure that happens.
Excellent. And you said that the women also work in two shifts. So is there like a night shift as well? And is there a transportation service during that time too? Because I know this can be quite tricky and concerning for parents and household members. Yeah.
Yeah. So the night shift is the third one, which is absolutely need based. But typically
Yes.
we work in A and B shift, which is the two shifts, so that's in daylight. When there is a need, and a lot of times we actually have women coming to us and saying, "Put us on the C shift. We are willing to do it." But we use that as a need based approach. And then when we have that, it's also mandated by government, and we make sure it gets done. Is that if it is post sunset and late into the night, we actually have a security guard dropping them, to a certain area, to the door, kind of a thing, right, to make sure that there is security. But keeping in mind just security, because not the plants are not in densely populated areas, right? We try to do the A and B shift such that they are also able to maintain a work life balance, because like I said, some of them are, like they're still young, right? So you don't want to have them working such long hours and not, really experience the other parts as well.
Fair enough. And so, coming to the skilling process, what did the skilling process entail? How long was it? Did you see any dropouts midway? And how did you prevent that from becoming a domino effect?
Yeah. So actually, the first batch that we had was inducted in April 2021. Like I said, we launched this in April 2021. We'd collaborated very closely with the NTTF, which is a Netter Technical Training Foundation. It was a 2-month intensive training program that was actually designed by JLR. And it was a combination of technical skills with hands-on exposure before actually moving to the shop floor. Because in a case like this, you can't just be doing book reading and expect someone to hit the shop floor and like how to do it. Because like I said, like typically say a door weighs 20 kilos, or like the machine weighs 20 to 30 kilos. We had to make sure that the height was adjusted, that the women are able to carry this, because it's not, there the people of different builds that come in, right? So how do you make sure you're adapting to it? So on the shop floor, that exposure was really really important for us. Dropouts, surprisingly, to your second question, were quite minimal. I think there was, a sense of excitement for these girls and women also, that this is, they are going to, in a way, make a mark in the industry, right? It's a first that we're doing. And we made sure that there was continuous support and structured onboarding from our side, right? I have to, give full credit to, everyone who was at the plant on location, because they created such a strong ecosystem, right? That built confidence. We are here for you. We are here to enable you. The idea is that we will do this together, and that made sure that dropouts were, few and far.
Fair enough. And just maybe for my own curiosity, were there any concerns that kept coming up, during this process? Any examples of those at all that might be helpful to the listeners?
So there were some concerns, which is like, I didn't think this was going to be that heavy, but you have to see these women when they come together as a unit, it is a force to be reckoned with. Like, okay, you are having trouble doing it, let me enable you, let me do this
Help
together.
you.
So that's largely how it was. Anything raising, alarming, not really. And obviously, you always have a contingency plan, but I think we'd worked so tirelessly in the back end to make sure that we were able to, navigate any such situation, and the training that they went through. And they had time to mentally prepare also as to what is coming their way, that, there was nothing in that sense.
Absolutely. And so, if I may, Zalak, now, did you feel there was any language challenges? Maybe were they educated in Marathi, which had to be addressed as well?
So we actually, largely people speak Hindi, Marathi, so that was not a challenge.
Sure.
We've actually done a film, where there's one of the, girls on the shop floor has written a beautiful poetry, in Hindi also. And the idea is that they just chose to support each other, because they realized at the end of the day, if if we do not support each other as a whole unit, we will not be able to deliver what is expected of us, right? You should see the pride with which they also talk about building these products, right? And they knew that sense of pride will only come through unity. So I think they just built on it. Obviously, as an organization, we were more inclusive, making sure that they had the access, the comfort, the safety. They were able to take on these challenges, right? But in terms of the assembly operations as well. But there was, nothing in terms of, I'm not able to do this, or this is not working out for me, right? So.
Yeah. Coming now from skilling to infrastructure,
Yeah.
what kind of workplace infrastructure improvements did you undertake to make the manufacturing unit gender inclusive?
So, like I alluded to it earlier also, we had to look at the weight of the machines to make them more conducive, right? So there was an effort to sort of make it more accessible to them, right? It's not a one size fits all. Like the basic
Yes.
average height of men and women differs. So, and we
Yes.
do have, girls and women who are like, in the range of 5 feet to 5 feet 4. They cannot
Correct.
reach the height of someone who's a 5'8" or a 5'9", right? So bringing those things down, making it easier for them, reducing the gap. Those are things that we did very consciously, and that is why it's a dedicated line, so that it enables them, right? Like, if a male counterpart were to go there, he would find it easier, right?
Sure.
Because it's not made for him. It was tailored in a sense for them as well.
Got it. And, some of the common things that keep coming up are the quality of toilets, rest areas, just trying to think through some of the other infrastructure improvements as well. If you could take me through those, Zalak.
Yeah. So we have a very elaborate rest area in that sense, right? There is I would not call it a sick room, but more like, for when you're fatigued and you want to take a break. The canteen is actually quite far from where the line is. So then there's a lot of space over there for at least your, tea, coffee breaks and things like that, right? They have very structured breaks when you work in manufacturing. So
Sure.
that is also there. Safety, big criteria, where you wear your shoes, where you wear your helmet, if you're not allowed to wear your watch, if you're wearing a belt, how it needs to be covered. So all of that is taken care of. Washrooms also built, created, made sure that there are the amenities that they require, because if we expect 100% from them, we need to give them that as well. So those were things that were taken care of because it was a new unit that was made. We were able to, incorporate those from the get-go.
Yeah, so it feels like you customized it for the
Yes,
women themselves, right?
yes.
One of the things, Zalak, we have heard of, and I don't know if this is a bias, that they say that women take more leaves than men. Do you think that is true? Do you think that would just love to hear that, because we've spoken to quite a few people, so would love to hear your perspectives on this.
So honestly, this particular example aside, I actually don't believe that is true. I have seen enough men take enough number of leaves. I think there was that age-old perception, but today with the younger generation, that's not so much the case, right? I see it at the workplace as well, right? Because men are also standing up to, taking responsibility for, probably going to PTAs and things like that, which was not done earlier. For this particular case, in fact, I was speaking to someone recently. This is earlier this year, and she came up to me saying, "You know what? I do long hours, I do weekends, and I have absolutely no problem. Give me more. I have a 2-year-old baby now, right? I have gone through maternity while being at Tata Motors. Give me more. My husband is willing to be the caregiver, right? Because he has a business, he will run it. Give me more. I feel like, it's shifting, and parents also see value in giving them those equal opportunities in that sense. So while it would continue to be there in certain facets, of course, I think the needle is slowly shifting.
Sure. Okay. And thank you for sharing that. And I hope that we really have more men take on more household and care responsibilities as well. And now, coming to this idea, building on the piece of leave, have you had any women leave the manufacturing unit? And what has been this, and why did they leave? And have you then, are there any programs for them to come back, etc.?
Okay, so interesting question, because I think attrition is just a natural part of any organization, let alone like such a large workforce, right? It's something that we account for. But having said that, yes, many of our women employees who are part of this structured learning have left. It's not a number that would be alarming. It's on the low side in that sense. But when they go through the Kaushalya program, or any other training program, they figure along the way whether they feel like they're cut out for this or no, right? Or when they start doing it
Got
full
it.
time on the job, and I think that's natural in any profession, right? So post
Sure.
completion, we have seen that some choose to continue to work with Tata Motors, others choose opportunities outside, or even those who we hire otherwise, they may or
Yeah.
may not enjoy. But I think this is healthy, right? To keep the pipeline to renew itself, because what happens is they're still going to maybe somewhere in the automotive ecosystem, where then they're talking about how they've done what they've done, which is basically the larger objective, right? To enable people to understand that yes, we can do it as well. We've had people go to suppliers, we've had them to go to dealers, we've had them go to other manufacturing companies, and I mean, I think that's just a part of how the industry works. So nothing too alarming, and it's actually building for a healthy talent pipeline, because you have people leaving and then you're able to nurture other people and bring them in. Why not do that?
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. And so, what kind of opportunities do you provide for career progression and growth?
So, we have basically people who have diploma holders, or, people who, who've just passed the program. So they're working on the shop floor. But we also have people, who are in supervisory roles, are in team lead roles. When we see people with, high potential, we encourage them to do, to pursue further studies, such that we can absorb them in the ecosystem at the right time, or continue to, grow and work. Because even we have policies in place, right, where you need to have certain education criteria in order to, grow, progress, and things like that. So the opportunities are there. It's about, tapping into them, and then, taking it forward.
Okay. This has been a really insightful conversation, and also an example of what automotive companies can do to increase women's employment in manufacturing. Any last words that you would like to share with us, Zalak, before we conclude this conversation?
So honestly, I think at Tata Motors, it's a journey that started, 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, right? 2021 to today, we're in 2026. Our focus has always been on evolving from, from just one initiative to build sustainable long-term, talent pipeline. And I think that's growing because we started with 1,500. Now we have, across shop floor operations and representation, we have nearly 3,000 women, and the idea is to let people know that these are opportunities we have um, in the passenger vehicle business, and there are opportunities galore. We're looking at how to help women and other diverse entities also explore, learn, and grow, and that's what we are.
Thank you. Um, Thank you, Zalak, for your time. And we look forward to the day when the entire assembly and the value chain of automotive companies becomes gender inclusive and achieves gender parity. A big thank you to our listeners. For I hope you have enjoyed the podcast. It is available on Spotify. Please do share your comments with us as well.